So when I spent some time in Botswana with my mentor working for a company that takes people on tours, the old man who owned it, Isak Barnard, was a real legend in Botswana. And I remember we didn't have fridges. We had a great big cooler box, and the cooler box was probably that thick with insulation. And the big truck that he had, and the meat was all frozen solid, and every day you were allowed to open it once to take out what needed to be for the clients to cook. And that was all with dry ice. So for more than 2 weeks we had frozen, cold stuff that we needed. And it was simple, and I think that struck me so deep in my mind that on those experiences and those trips away on the safaris we went on, that we actually don't need a lot. It's a very simple setup. My first trip through Africa, I didn't take a fridge. I had a canvas thing that you could fill half with water and the bottom half, and it would drip down through and it would keep stuff cool. It's experiences like this which I guess got ingrained in who I am as a person, and Joe and I share the same outlook in our lives. That actually simple. We have 2 pots in our kitchen. We don't need more. If I needed more, I would maybe buy another one, but I don't. So when we go on expedition, I go, a frying pan and a pot, it's probably all you need.
It's about asking yourself, is it important on my trip? Can I use it? Will it bring value? Or will it bring burden? So when I talk about burden, there's also emotional burden, there's mental burden. What weight are you carrying with you on your trip? Because those burdens can also interfere with the trip and don't bring you fully present on the journey. So if you are worrying about there, you're not focusing on there, that can also compromise safety because you are not where you need to be. And overland travel, you need to be more aware, more vigilant, more present than in any other form of travel, because things aren't served to you, things aren't brought to you, things aren't delivered to you, things aren't done for you. It all points to you. So the lighter you travel mentally and physically, the brighter your trip is going to be.
One of my mantras is to take less gear and a lot more experience. And you know, we hear that and then we think about it and think, so how does that actually relate back into what I need to do? If I'm looking at all the equipment I'm going to take, I'm going to look at my equipment, I'm going to say, first of all, is it safety related? If it's safety related, have I got the right piece of equipment? Do I absolutely need it? Am I going to use it for this expedition? Because quite often you'll take all the gear for every scenario, for every type of expedition. And the one trip you're going to do, let's say going in the dunes in Namibia, you want a really light truck. So do I actually even need my roof tent? Isn't it going to be better served to take all the weight off the roof and drive and sleep on the ground under a thin mosquito net or a little small dome tent? Because that's going to serve you better on that trip. So manage every trip. There's no perfect vehicle, there's no perfect setup. And when you're going to do an extended trip, you're trying to balance out what you need and don't need. I'd rather put a new part on the car than carry it with me. There's only an exception of a few parts that I reckon are pretty essential, like a water pump, because if a water pump leaks, even if you've put a new one on, you really can't travel very far. I watch people take massive toolkits at a huge weight, and I look and say, are all those tools needed? And have you actually checked that you need those spanners on the car? There's a handful of spanners you need and sizes you need on most of the Japanese vehicles that will serve you. So just looking at that, you just can define much more clearly on how you're going to achieve that. And weight is critical. And if you look at everything you take, clothing is an easy one, because clothing we all start off taking way too much. Food, we often take way too much food. And you realize that that carries a lot of weight in itself. Fuel and water, well, that's pretty static. You need fuel for extended lengths of time, but you don't need too much fuel. So you can manage that as you can with your water. And if that's all set up and you've prepared for that, you can again carry less. So less is more, we say it, it's how you can practice and implement it.
Every trip we've been on, we refine what we take with us, because also every trip requires different things. A short trip versus a long trip. But what ends up happening is we end up refining our home when we come back, because we realize how little we've used on the trip. And you look around your home and you think, wow, we've got a lot of stuff, because what would happen if we didn't have it? It doesn't define us. So if we can live on a couple of boxes of food and one little bag of clothes and a couple of kitchen implements, which you can double up for a lot of things, we've actually got too much. So we evaluate our life. We come back to our wardrobes at home. We say, sure, haven't used it, missed it. So in 6 months, out. You know, we've got that policy of never being overloaded as a daily life practice, something in, something out. What has inspired us the most about our travels is the raw reality of Africa and other parts of the world, Vietnam, etc., where people have so little and they want to give you everything. And when I say everything, it could be sharing a meal, their humble meal, but they give of their hearts, they give you their time, they want to help you, they want to know, they actually say, how are you? Tell me about you. Those connections are indelibly imprinted in our minds. And those are the people that have changed our lives and helped us remap our life and our values and what's important and what's not important, because the joy for them is just sitting cross-legged around their campfire having a meal. Not worrying about this or that or the other. They're present there with you in the moment now. Thank you so much for watching this film. These films are made possible because of your support. So if you would like to see more of these, please click on the link below and become a patron on Patreon.